Hello, everybody. Russ from the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're ready, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. Currently sunning myself in Dubai as we speak, but thought I'd give you a little thought piece. You know me, I do like to think occasionally, and obviously with the sort of summer speculation already ramping up. But also with a number of sort of things still in play, players out of contract, rumours we've heard of players who want to leave, players who are likely to leave, manager going, maybe not, flip flopping with that, director of football, loads it. I thought, do you know what? Let's just have a go. Let's just have a go and have a think. Have a think about what could happen in the summer and sort of do my predictions. And hopefully we'll get Anton, we'll get Holly and a number of other people to give us their sort of summer transfer predictions. And we'll just have a bit of a laugh and see what happens at the end and see who's the most predicted. Is that the right? No, that's the wrong thing. So, in terms of context, I mean, we've been talking about this quite a bit, and we had a show about it a while ago. But obviously, that's the current, give or take the current playing squads, not including the likes of Barmer and a few others. But in essence, we've kind of got two in each spot, and obviously some of them interchangeable. Cornet doesn't not exclusively on the right, and and that type of thing. And obviously Connor Coventry's back. He was doing some actually warming up. He was doing a fitness test actually after the Leeds game, before the Leeds game, which I thought was quite funny. And I'd completely forgot about him, in all honesty. Completely forgot about Connor Coventry. But it was nice to see him there. Anyway, so let's just go bottom. Let's go there. So yeah, and based on the information we've had, and we've spoken about, that could be a worst case scenario. It might be even worse than that if Fornals wants to piss off and bugger off as well. And actually Ben Johnson might want to go as well. So we've got, it doesn't matter what happens, and if people are discussing new contracts and stuff at the moment, the likes of Cresswell, Soufal, Fabianski, Ugbonna, Lanzini are all out of contract in the summer. We've also heard that Areola wants out. He's not happy about being second choice, where he wants to be first choice. Obviously, we've got the whole thing around Declan Rice in terms of going to Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Man City, one of half a dozen clubs. We did a show about it last week. Check it out. It was I thought it was quite a good show, actually, looking at sort of the pros and cons of going to each of those sort of main targets. We know that Antonio's been looking for a way out. And he was almost out the door a couple of times during January. The likes of Wolves and Chelsea after him, Forest, and obviously of those three clubs, probably not Chelsea, but maybe Wolves and Forest. Particularly Wolves looking at maybe, Costa's leaving. Antonio could do a job there. Forest, he was, we bought him from Nottingham Forest. And Scamacca, we've got all the speculation around Scamacca and the noise, whether he goes back to Italy, to AC Milan, or he's. So a worst case scenario, we'll only had the people in white, so to speak. So, and actually, we could even take Johnson out, really, because Everton have been linked to him as well, potentially. But that's sort of the most likely. And when I say most, I mean the chances are Fabianski is going to get a new deal. Cress is probably going to get a new deal, and that type of thing. So, and this is on the apprehension that maybe that Moyes stays. And Rice is gone. So that's my thought process. And so this could invariably change if Moyes does go and a Paulo Fonseca comes in, or I don't know, Michael Carrick or someone like that comes in, then that changes the conversation drastically, I'd say, because maybe the likes of Scamacca may stay or things like that. So what I've done is I've given my my thoughts in terms of who I think I would get in each of the positions. And some of this is noise and some of it is speculation. But the idea being is at the end, give you an idea of what I think the squad would look like. And if you like this, give it a like. Give it a like. I'm sure there's going to be lots of comments and lots of, you don't know what you're doing, all about this bloke. And so we've been linked with hundreds already. I think last transfer window it was over 120, 130 players we've been linked with. And it'll continue to be even more so, particularly if you've got money in the bank from Declan Rice. And obviously this assumes a cash deal. I haven't assumed that, it's, I don't know, Man City he sells him for 90 million plus Calvin Phillips, because obviously naturally Calvin Phillips would then be in the squad, or maybe Calvin Phillips and Carl Walker, for example, that type of thing. This is just a plain, Deck's gone 120, 100 million pounds on cash. And so, obviously we're selling a few. We've heard from the likes of Jacob Steinberg that if Moyes does stay and the board have done some sort of U-turn, whether you believe that or not, whether it's flip-flop, whether it's just speculation, we don't know. But the idea being is he'll be backed in the summer for the rebuild again. And so let's start. We'll go in sort of areas. Let's start with the goalkeeper. So Fabianski, imagine I think he's going to be offered he's basically got a 1+1, so a 1-year deal which comes into this summer. Then they'll be offered a new. We've got the option of a new 1-year contract. I think that happens. I think you've got Joseph Anang, you've got Nathan Trotz, you've also got you've got Terry, you've got Kinner, you've got some good young goalkeepers as well, Heggie as well. So you've got, I think you can have Fabianski still as your number one. If Areola wants to go, I would, fair play, you can. I don't think that's been handled very well in terms of the Areola Fabianski situation. But it is what it is, and we're in this position. So for me, I would bring in a young goalkeeper, just as a good number two who will eventually become the number one. And I think there's a great one in Southampton. I think Gavin Busuni. I think he's 21, Irish international. He is a good shot stopper, big lad. As he's 21, and obviously he's played 30 or so games for Saints already. They'll be in the Championship next year, and so I think that would be brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I think he'd come in and it wouldn't cost the world, and he would deputise for Fabs. Obviously, hopefully, we win the the Conference League, and we'll be in Europe. He'll be our Cup goalkeeper as well, and be good backup. And then obviously the likes of Joseph, and as I said, being 21, he could be your goalkeeper realistically for the next 15 years. Fabianski's 36, 37. So, someone like that obviously came from Man United, the Man City under 18s. So, well skilled, can play a bit as well, which is good. I think he'd be really good. Right, if we move into defence, let's go into the fullback area. So that's an area I think we need some sort of stability, maybe some youthful exuberance. This is not also assuming that the likes of, you might introduce the likes of someone like an Ollie Scarles, for example. And guys from the under 18s, under 21s as well. And again, I haven't included that in here as well. This is just sort of not even the first team squad, because actually people like Freddie Potts, people like, actually I have included one, ignore me, but I'll come to that at the end. So fullbacks, I think there's two. And again, what I've done is I haven't gone for, we could go to, in this respect, go to someone like, I don't know, Grimaldo or Guerrero. They're both available on free transfers. But I think actually, for me, there's two, and obviously one's will be Luke Thomas, who a guy we've been linked with, young lad we've been linked with last summer as well. Left fullback and right fullback, Carl Walker-Peters. I think he's 26. He would come in and slot in. There is noise of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a bit out of our price range. I don't think Man United would want to sell him. They may include him in a deal for Declan Rice, but that's what I would do. I think Carl Walker-Peters would come in and do really well for us there. And I think Luke Thomas. So you've got two very, very youthful. Carl Peters isn't really 26, really, but they're both experienced Premier League, and I think that's the key here. Where I can, I'm going to bring in probably experienced Premier League players. There is some I'm going to bring in a couple of not superstars, but a couple of really good, maybe foreign-based players. But I think from the last, and what we've heard, from the last sort of transfer window, and also what we've heard from the club, so to speak, in terms of what they're going to do in terms of recruitment, it does look like they're going to favour sort of people who are established in the English game. So for me, that would be my two. And again, I'm not picking, so, and actually when you look at, I've put together the squad I would like to see in the summer, or I think we might see in the summer, or in August rather. It's not going to be like 100%, but and not even all these people will feature. But that's sort of my rough targets. So in terms of centre backs, obviously with Agbona going, We do have the issue with Kurt Zuma. Kurt Zuma plays 20. If you get 25 games out of him, you've done very, very well. But you don't. And personally, I don't know whether we would offer Bonner that contract. We may well do. We may well do. But I think actually this is an opportunity to start looking at the future. We've got the likes of Casey. We've got Louise Al. We've got these guys who could step up from the 18s and 23s into the first team squad, not necessarily starters, but as part of the squad. But if I was going out and buying a couple, there's two I would get. One would be the South, and again, there's a lot of Southampton players in there. I appreciate they were bottom of the league, but don't forget we did that with Fabianski and buying a goalkeeper from the bottom, side that finished bottom. We did that with Fabianski, so I think Gavin will be I think he's a good keeper. And same with like Carl Walter-Peters and Mohamed Salizo, but I think he's a very good left-sided centre back. He's someone who, and obviously, if we lose Bonner, we need another left-sided centre back who's naturally left-sided, and I think you'll have a Ged and Saliso, for example. I think that would work really well. I think that would be really strong. And I'm just going to do something. I've just realised I've just put someone else in my squad. Let me just put that in there. That's it. So I think for me, he is I think he's very young as well, Mohammed. So I think again he would do a good job for us. I think he's very quick. So one of the issues I think sometimes is when someone like Gerd's out of the side, you miss a lot of pace. He would have that pace, which does help, which definitely does help. And then also someone I'll be looking at would be the Peterborough centre back. He's 20. His name's Ronnie Edwards, and he can play across either. So, like last season, for example, last few seasons, we've gone into the season with 4 recognised centre backs, and we end up with like 1. So actually, I'd have more than 4 if I can. So maybe Ronnie could, I don't think he would go in as a first choicer, like first 11 starter, but I think he would teeter between, say, the bench and sort of the first team, occasionally coming as a sub, while maybe. I mean, that's the thing. You don't want to for centre back. Basically Zuma and again are the first choices, so you don't want necessarily someone who's going in to assume their first choice. Ronnie's 20. He's played a lot of games at Peterborough, but also you've got the option of maybe buying him and selling him, taking him out on loan to get championship experience, and as and when we need him, bring him in, and then obviously eventually he would take on a mantle, same as someone like Casey, for example. But I think both of them two will be useful acquisitions and also not cost the world as well. Let's move into midfield. So obviously Declan. This is under the assumption that Declan Rice has gone, and potentially Souček's gone as well. A club come in, and so because I think Souček's one of those divisive players, and so I haven't actually put in my squad at the moment. Maybe that's a mistake, but I think for me, there's I think we can do better. I think we can do better, but not drastic. Not have to sort of like rewrite the book. If that makes sense. So there's 3 players. My 3 dream targets would be, and obviously with Rice gone, we need to. I think we need a big ticket name or some, and I think these 3 are good players that people have heard of as well. So we've got Sal from Eintracht Frankfurt. He's out of contract in the summer, 26, 27, Swiss international. He obviously we knew all about him because of the Europa Conference semi-finals last year. Very good player, box to box, can play defensive if need be, can play more attacking if need be. Perfect all-round midfielder you want in there. Would possibly take over the position that maybe a Souček had, for example, because he could do everything, and you could, as and when required, he could sort of fit in. James Ward-Prowse, I think I would get in a heartbeat. I think for me, there's so much he can add to the side in terms of set plays, and we sort of started to improve our set plays a lot, and actually, with the likes of Saloisu or someone like obviously Zuma and we're going to talk about Milinkovic-Savic in a minute, but even Sal, these are big boys, and actually putting it on their head from a corner from free kick will make would be a simple thing. And obviously we know what he brings in terms of Ward-Prowse, in terms of his technical ability. And I think having someone like Sal there who could do a lot of mopping up maybe, and then having someone like Ward-Prowse working with a Paqueta, for example, slightly higher up, I think that would be really cool. Another player I'd love to get is Milenkovic-Savic from Lazio. Again, free transfer. He would fit West Ham to a T, just because he's a nutter and a good player as well. And there's very few times where you have that difference, where you have I've always said it. You've got your Billy Bonds players, you've got your Trevor Brooking players, and occasionally you'll get people in the middle. Paolo Di Canio was in the middle. He was a fantastic player and he was a nutter. And that's why he's gone down in West Ham folklore history. Milenkovic-Savic could be that same person. He's crazy. He's got, he'll probably get sent off a few times, but he's got a hell of a pass in him, hell of a shot, great range of he can drop a shoulder, beat a man, and I think him and Paqueta will be fucking awesome. A midfield of potentially Sal, Milenkovic-Savic, and Paqueta. Take my money. Or even Ward-Prowse, Paqueta, and Sal. So there's so much we can do. It's horrible thinking that Deck's leaving, or he will be going, or he might be going, but probably will be going. But there's so many options there to cover that loss. But it's getting the right mindset. I mean, I think Milenkovic has got it. Could be captain material, really, just because he's got that sort of. I mean, I think he captains Lazio, and he's just got that aura around him. I love him. I love him as a player. Let's go further up. Let's talk about the wingers, forwardy positions, not strikers as such, but forwardy positions. The likes of potentially, I think with Lanzini going, there's an opportunity for Benny to play as a 10, as a backup to Paqueta potentially, or there being some sort of maybe Paqueta drops and Benny can play a 10. I think there's an opportunity now to maybe move him more midfield. He seems to play a lot better, a lot more influential as a 10, as you would imagine. And there's players we can bring in. My main target would be Harvey Barnes from Leicester. Straight away, that improves the directness on my left-hand side. Benny's cuts inside too much. Fornals isn't really a left-sided player, but I've put him out there for the squad that you'll see in a minute. But he is a great player, and I think he would be brilliant. 26, hell of a lot of experience, hell of a lot of goals, hell of a lot of assists. I think it's 1 in 3 goal involvements, which is brilliant. And he would only get better. And I think he would really excite players and excite the fans as well. Alongside him, and again, I've stuck with sort of Premier League. It's a raft of players we've been linked to. Midfield. There's Yusuf from La Liga side. That's going to escape my head. It doesn't matter. Anyway, former Arsenal trainee. He's we've been linked with him, the US international midfielder, and loads of others. But for me, it's like these guys. Someone like Jack Harrison, really exciting player, can play on any wing if need be. Could be really useful to give Bowen some rest as well, or maybe move Bowen up top sometimes, and Jack could come in. And the guy I really like, almost a Milenkovic-Savic sort of levels, is Wilfried Gnotto. I think he is going to be a world star. He has got it. He has got directness. He's got power. He's got pace. He's like a mini Antonio. I think he would do brilliant. And, the option of him playing on the left-hand side, similar to what we've always been saying, we'd love to see Antonio on the wing, and he would be our new Antonio. I really genuinely think he could be. He is just a little brick shithouse, and I just think he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then it's in terms of forwards. So in forwards, it's slightly difficult. Again, this is my assumption that Moyes is staying. So the fact is, you need a focal player. Schumacher doesn't really work in that situation. I mean, if he does decide to go for two up front, then Schumacher and Ings. But I've gone for this one up front, sort of target man, runs of channels. And there's 2 guys who we've been linked with quite heavily for the last 18 months who I think could come in. One is the Coventry City striker, Victor Gogieres. But I think with Victor, I think people go, he's Coventry. He's brilliant. He's a really good player. If you want someone who runs down the channels, if you want someone who's going to just run really hard and just go for it and run for those pointless balls. He's got it in spades. I think he's got like 24, 25 goals this season at least. I think he would be really, really good. And then if not, another option would be he's Villarreal, but he's Salernitana on loan at the moment, is Boubadia. Again, very much Antonio-esque type player, literally like for like, but a younger version. So one of them will come in and would improve that sort of forward option, particularly with the likes. This is assuming that Ings goes. This is assuming that maybe an Antonio goes as well. So that's what I've gone with. So this is the squad. And again, it's not perfect. There's a few players I probably would move on as well, but just sort of looking at what's goalkeepers. I think Fabianski gets his 1 year add-on, and Bassuni comes in. Gavin Bassuni from Southampton, and Ariola leaves. I think fullbacks. I think Cresswell and Emerson probably going to stay the two. If not, they're bringing someone like if Cresswell does go. I don't expect him to go, but maybe a Luke Thomas comes in. But maybe it's a third choice. You get Ollie Scarles, for example, as the third man on that left side. Fullbacks, I assume that they're going to offer Soufal the add-on. I think he's got a 2-year add-on his contract. With Carl Walter Peters coming in, and this is not assuming that Soufal over Peters. This is just literally in the positions. And again, these are subjective, and also the assumption that Ben Johnson may move on. In terms of centre halves, the only real change would be maybe a Bonner out with Saluiso in, or maybe someone like Ronnie Edwards, or both potentially. Midfield, I mean, yeah, Sal Milenkovic, Savage, Ward-Prowse, maybe Flynn. Maybe Flynn, I mean, this assumption maybe Connor Coventry goes as well. And again, these can be all moved about. Paqueta stays at 10 role, and I said I wouldn't mind putting Ben Rahman more into a 10 role. Wingers, Harvey Barnes, Fornals. And again, Fornals will go into the middle and Ben Rahman will get at 10, but goes to the wing. But that's what I'd like. Bowen and Harrison, nice too. Also, you got Cornet. I haven't even mentioned Cornet, actually. Shit, I forgot about him. But you got Cornet as well. He can obviously play up top. He's been playing up top quite a bit as well. I think personally, I think you get Corcoredes or Dia. You get one or the other. You'd have Mbama, Ings. You'd have Cornet as well. You'd have Godier from Gideon Godier from the under 21s as well. You've got Marshall. There's so many players you can bring in, but just an interesting one. Just my thoughts. I'd love to get your thoughts. You transfer. If you're Moisey or you're the director of football, who are your transfer targets? Who's coming in? Who are you bringing in? And as I said, we'll get Anton and Holly to do it as well, and Stato and Luke and various others. It'd be quite an interesting thing during the summer as well. And that's it. Take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay humble. Keep the faith, my friends. Come on, you bloody irons! And I will see you very, very soon. Take care. Bye bye. Enjoy the rest of your day.